Silence became his weapon. Every great transformation begins with a painful decision. His decision was to disappear. Not from the world, but from distractions. He deleted the habits that were slowly stealing his future. No more endless scrolling. No more chasing people who didn't respect him. No more explaining his dreams to those who had already accepted an average life. People thought he had become cold. The truth? He had become focused. Every sunrise became a reminder that time never waits. While others searched for motivation, he built discipline. Because motivation disappears, discipline stays. The days were hard. Some mornings his body begged him to quit. Some nights his mind whispered, maybe everyone was right. But every time that voice appeared, he answered it with action. One more page. One more workout. One more skill. One more hour. He understood something that most people never learn. Success is never created in one big moment. It is created through thousands of invisible victories. Small choices, repeated every single day. Months passed. Nothing looked different. His bank account wasn't impressive. Nobody celebrated him. Nobody posted about him. And yet, inside, everything had changed. His confidence no longer depended on compliments. His happiness no longer depended on attention. His value no longer depended on anyone's opinion. He wasn't trying to become better than others. He was becoming better than the man he had been yesterday. That is the Sigma difference. They don't compete for applause. They compete against yesterday's version of themselves. And while the world was busy making noise, he was quietly becoming impossible to ignore. Silence became his weapon. Every great transformation begins with a painful decision. His decision was to disappear. Not from the world, but from distractions. He deleted the habits that were slowly stealing his future. No more endless scrolling. No more chasing people who didn't respect him. No more explaining his dreams to those who had already accepted an average life. People thought he had become cold. The truth? He had become focused. Every sunrise became a reminder that time never waits. While others searched for motivation, he built discipline. Because motivation disappears, discipline stays. The days were hard. Some mornings his body begged him to quit. Some nights his mind whispered, maybe everyone was right. But every time that voice appeared, he answered it with action. One more page. One more workout. One more skill. One more hour. He understood something that most people never learn. Success is never created in one big moment. It is created through thousands of invisible victories. Small choices, repeated every single day. Months passed. Nothing looked different. His bank account wasn't impressive. Nobody celebrated him. Nobody posted about him. And yet, inside, everything had changed. His confidence no longer depended on compliments. His happiness no longer depended on attention. His value no longer depended on anyone's opinion. He wasn't trying to become better than others. He was becoming better than the man he had been yesterday. That is the Sigma difference. They don't compete for applause. They compete against yesterday's version of themselves. And while the world was busy making noise, he was quietly becoming impossible to ignore. The failure that changed everything. Then came the day. The day most people would have given up forever. After months of working in silence, he finally took his shot. He launched the project. He shared his work. He believed. This is it. But reality had other plans. Nothing happened. No recognition. No success. No applause. Just silence. For a moment, he felt broken. The same people who once doubted him smiled again. We told you. You were dreaming too big. You wasted your time. Those words could have destroyed him. Instead, they became fuel. That night, he stood in front of a mirror. Not to admire himself, but to ask one question. Did I really fail? Or did I just discover what doesn't work? That single question changed everything. Most people see failure as proof they should stop. A Sigma sees failure as information. Every mistake became a lesson. Every rejection became experience. Every closed door forced him to build a new one. He stopped fearing failure because he realized something powerful. Failure only hurts people who quit. For those who continue, failure becomes a teacher. So he returned to work, not with more emotion, but with more wisdom. He improved his skills. He fixed his weaknesses. He became harder to distract, harder to discourage, harder to defeat. Day after day, the version of him that once needed motivation slowly disappeared. In its place, a disciplined man was born. Someone who no longer chased quick results. Someone who understood that greatness is built slowly. Brick by brick. Habit by habit. Choice by choice. 1 year later, the people who laughed at him had forgotten his dream. But he hadn't. Because winners remember the promise they made to themselves, long after everyone else forgets. And that's why the strongest people in the world aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who refuse to stay down. The day success finally knocked. Success rarely arrives with fireworks. Most of the time, it knocks so quietly that only the prepared can hear it. One ordinary morning, something unexpected happened. The project that everyone ignored started getting attention. One message became 10. 10 became 100. People who had never believed in him suddenly wanted to know his secret. Some congratulated him. Some pretended they had always supported him. Others acted as if they had never laughed at his dreams. He smiled, but said very little. Because deep down, he knew something they didn't. The real victory had happened months earlier. Not when the money arrived. Not when people finally noticed him. The real victory happened the morning he chose discipline over excuses. The day he stopped blaming the world. The day he stopped waiting for permission. That was the day his life truly changed. Money was simply the result. Success was simply the evidence. Character was the reward. As the months passed, his income grew. His confidence grew. His influence grew. But something else also grew. His humility. Because he remembered exactly where he came from. He remembered every lonely night. Every rejection. Every silent battle that nobody saw. He never forgot those moments. Because pain had become his greatest teacher. And now, whenever someone asked, "How did you become successful?" he never talked about luck. He never talked about talent. He simply answered, "I kept showing up." Long after everyone else stopped. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. The world celebrates winners. But nobody applauds the thousands of invisible days that created them. A Sigma understands this. He doesn't chase attention. He chases mastery. He doesn't ask life to become easier. He becomes stronger. Because the greatest investment you will ever make is the one you make in yourself. And once you master your own mind, the world can no longer control your future. The man they couldn't recognize. Years passed. The boy who once begged for opportunities had become the man who created them. Every room he entered felt different. Not because he was louder, but because confidence has a presence that words can never imitate. People noticed it. His posture, his discipline, his calm. Even under pressure, he never rushed. Because he had learned a lesson that only a few people ever understand. Power is quiet. Weakness is always trying to prove itself. One afternoon, he walked past a group of people who had laughed at him years ago. They recognized him immediately. One of them smiled awkwardly and said, "I always knew you'd make it." He looked at them for a moment, then smiled politely. Not with pride. Not with anger. But with peace. Because revenge no longer interested him. Success had already answered every insult. He realized something extraordinary. Holding on to hate keeps you connected to your past. Letting go allows you to build your future. That day, he forgave everyone. Not because they deserved forgiveness, but because he deserved freedom. From that moment, his mind became lighter. His focus became sharper. His vision became clearer. He no longer wasted energy trying to prove people wrong. Instead, he invested every ounce of energy into becoming even better. That is the Sigma path. Win quietly. Grow constantly. Speak less. Build more. While others compare themselves to strangers, you compare yourself to your own potential. While others chase popularity, you chase purpose. Because popularity fades, purpose lasts forever. And here's the truth that changed his life forever. You don't become unstoppable the day you earn your first million. You become unstoppable the day your self-control becomes stronger than your excuses. That is the day you stop surviving and start leading. The world doesn't remember the loudest people. It remembers the people who built something so valuable that their actions spoke louder than their words. And he made one final promise to himself. No matter how successful I become, I will never return to the mindset that once kept me weak. Because a Sigma knows, the greatest battle is never against the world. It is against the person staring back at you in the mirror. The price of greatness. Success gave him something he had never experienced before. Choices. Not every opportunity was good. Not every handshake was honest. Not every smile was real. The higher he climbed, the more people wanted a piece of his success. Some offered fast money. Others offered shortcuts. A few even promised him everything, as long as he was willing to sacrifice his values. For a moment, the offers looked tempting. After all, who wouldn't want an easier road? But then he remembered the nights when he had nothing except his discipline. He remembered every promise he had made to himself. I will never trade my character for comfort. That promise became his shield. He walked away from easy money. He walked away from dishonest partnerships. He walked away from people who only appeared after success arrived. Many called him foolish. They said, "You're missing the biggest opportunity of your life." He simply smiled, because he knew something they didn't. Money can rebuild a house, but it cannot rebuild a broken reputation. Once people stop trusting you, no amount of success can buy that trust back. So he chose the harder road. Again, just as he always had. Every decision made him stronger. Not because life became easier, but because his standards became higher. He no longer asked, "Will this make me richer?" Instead, he asked, "Will this make me proud of the man I'm becoming?" That single question protected his future. Years later, people admired his wealth. But what they respected even more was his integrity. Because deep inside, everyone knows the difference between a person who becomes successful and a person who deserves success. A Sigma never builds a life that looks powerful from the outside, while collapsing on the inside. He builds from the foundation first. Discipline, integrity, patience, purpose. Only then does he build success on top of it. Because true greatness isn't measured by what you own. It's measured by what you refuse to lose. Even when the whole world offers you a shortcut. The loneliness of a winner. There was one lesson no one had warned him about. The higher he climbed, the fewer people walked beside him. Success brought respect, but it also revealed the truth about people. Some disappeared when they realized they could no longer control him. Some stayed, only because they wanted something from him. At first, the silence felt lonely. The empty weekends, the unanswered messages, the friendships that slowly faded away. He wondered, was success worth this price? Then one evening, while watching the sunset alone, he realized something powerful. He wasn't losing people. He was losing distractions. The people who truly cared never left. The people who only loved convenience were never real friends to begin with. That realization gave him peace. From then on, he stopped chasing relationships that required him to become someone else. He chose quality over quantity. One loyal friend was worth more than 100 fake supporters. He learned to enjoy his own company. Long walks, quiet mornings, books instead of noise, reflection instead of reaction. For the first time in his life, being alone no longer felt like punishment. It felt like freedom. Because a Sigma understands something most people never do. If you cannot enjoy your own presence, no amount of attention from others will ever satisfy you. The strongest people don't fear loneliness. They use it. They use silence to think. They use solitude to grow. They use discipline to build a future that nobody else can see. Months later, people began asking him, "How do you stay so calm under pressure?" He smiled and replied, "I spent years learning to be comfortable with myself." That answer confused them, because they thought success creates confidence. The truth is, confidence is created long before success arrives. It is built every time you keep a promise to yourself. Every workout you finish. Every difficult decision you make. Every excuse you refuse to accept. Piece by piece, you become the person your younger self always hoped to become. And one day, without even realizing it, you stop chasing the life you dreamed about. Because you are finally living it. The mindset that changed his destiny. One day, a young man approached him and asked, "What was the biggest reason you became successful?" The young man expected to hear about money, business, or a secret strategy. Instead, he heard one simple sentence. "I changed the way I think before I changed the way I lived." The young man looked confused. So he continued, "Every result in your life begins as a thought. If your mind is weak, your decisions become weak. If your decisions are weak, your future becomes weak." That was the chain most people never noticed. For years, he had believed the world was holding him back. But one morning he accepted a difficult truth. The biggest prison wasn't outside. It was inside his own mind. Fear, self-doubt, overthinking, the need for approval. Those invisible chains were heavier than poverty itself. The day he broke those chains, his future finally opened. From then on, he became extremely protective of his mind. He stopped listening to negative voices. He stopped comparing himself to strangers on the internet. He stopped wasting hours arguing with people who had no intention of understanding him. Instead, he filled his mind with knowledge, books, discipline, silence, purpose. Little by little, his thoughts changed. Then his habits changed. Then his actions changed. And finally, his entire life changed. Most people try to change their lives overnight. A Sigma changes one decision at a time. One better morning. One better habit. One better choice. Repeated for years. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary. Before leaving, the young man asked one final question. If you could give me only one piece of advice, what would it be? He smiled, then said slowly, protect your mind. Because everything you become tomorrow depends on what you allow into it today. The young man walked away. But those words stayed with him forever. Because success is not built first with money. It is built with a mindset that refuses to surrender. And once your mind learns to win, your life eventually follows. The legacy of a Sigma. Many years later, people no longer introduced him as the boy who failed. Now they called him a leader, an inspiration, a symbol of discipline. But titles never impressed him. Because he knew the world can give you a title today and take it away tomorrow. Character is the only thing no one can steal. One afternoon, while standing in front of hundreds of young people, someone asked, if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self? The room became silent. He looked down for a moment, then answered, I wouldn't promise him an easier life. I would simply tell him, keep going. One day, the pain that makes you cry today will become the story that inspires someone else. The audience was silent. Not because they had nothing to say, but because everyone was thinking about their own battle. He continued, never envy people who seem to be ahead of you. You don't know what they sacrificed. And never hate people who doubted you. They unknowingly trained you to become stronger. He paused, then smiled. Life is not a race against another man. It is a daily battle against your old habits, against fear, against laziness, against the voice that whispers, maybe tomorrow. That voice has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. So defeat it. Every single day. Wake up before your excuses. Work before your emotions. Learn before you complain. Grow before you celebrate. Because one day, people will call you lucky. They will never see the thousands of mornings when nobody believed in you. They will never see the sacrifices, the lonely nights, the silent tears, the moments when quitting seemed easier than continuing. But you will remember, and that memory will be worth more than any trophy. As he walked away from the stage, he realized something beautiful. Success was never the destination. The journey had transformed him into the man he was always meant to become. And that was the greatest victory of all, the final message. If you've listened this far, then maybe this story was never about him. Maybe it was about you. Right now, someone is doubting your dream. Someone believes you're not smart enough, not talented enough, not strong enough. Maybe that someone is even the voice inside your own head. But remember this: every legend was once invisible. Every champion was once ignored. Every successful person was once a beginner who refused to quit. The difference was never luck. It was the decision to continue. When quitting felt easier. One day, years from now, you'll wake up in a life that looks completely different. Not because of one lucky moment, but because of thousands of small decisions you make starting today. The alarm you choose not to snooze. The workout you choose not to skip. The book you choose to read. The excuse you choose to reject. Those tiny choices will become your future. Never underestimate the power of one disciplined day. Because one disciplined day becomes one disciplined week. One disciplined week becomes one disciplined month. One disciplined month becomes one disciplined year. And one disciplined year can completely rewrite your life. So stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for confidence. Action creates confidence. Discipline creates freedom. Consistency creates greatness. The world doesn't owe you success, but it always rewards those who refuse to stop improving. So make yourself a promise. Not to become richer than everyone else. Not to become more famous than everyone else. Promise yourself that you will become stronger than yesterday, wiser than yesterday, more disciplined than yesterday. Because if you win that battle, no one can truly defeat you. Years later, people may forget your name. They may forget your job. They may even forget your achievements. But they will never forget the way your discipline changed your life and inspired others to change theirs. Remember, a Sigma doesn't wait for the perfect moment. He becomes the reason the moment becomes perfect. Now close this chapter. Stand up. Take one step forward. And let your actions tell the story that your words never could. Your next chapter starts today.